Back in 2008, President Barack Obama made a joke that he is actually Superman and he was sent to Earth from Krypton. Of course, the comic book people will not let that slide, so Grant Morrison created President Superman and he first appeared in Final Crisis in 2009. With that, Earth 23 was born. Earth 23 is a world where most of the heroes are African Americans and they are led by President Superman. The world has experienced 3 world wars, but they have a Christmas-like festival called the Celebration of Rapport. Welcome to DCNES, and today let's meet President Superman and the Justice League of Earth 23. Kal-El is President Superman from Earth 23. In his civilian identity, he is Calvin Ellis, President of the United States of America. Years ago, in a faraway star system, the planet Krypton, a wise and ancient civilization, was about to be annihilated in a cataclysmic explosion, leaving almost nothing left. Before the catastrophe, young scientists Jor-El and Lara lived in the science capital on Vatlo Island called Chandra-La. Jor-El and Lara performed their last and most daring experiment together, and that is to save their infant child Kal-El from the apocalypse of Krypton and put him in a prototype rocket to travel across the empty gulf of space with little more than a prayer to guide his voyage. Kal-El eventually landed on the planet Earth and was found by the poor but kind Ellis family, who christened him Calvin. Father Ellis taught him boxing and he was raised to stand up for himself no matter the odds and to fight for truth, justice, liberty, and equality. When his star-spanning Kryptonian powers emerged under Earth's yellow sun, he became Superman, champion of the oppressed and defender of peace around the world. Calvin would fight numerous life-threatening battles against the likes of Lex Luthor, construct the citadel of Fort Superman and his Oval Office of Solitude, and inspire a generation of superheroes by his emergence who would form the Justice League. However, in his identity as Calvin Ellis, his greatest adventure of all is his role as the President of the US, where he is aided by his long-suffering assistant Courtney, a robotic assistant in the fortress called Kelex, and the reprogrammed artificial alien intelligence Brainac, who is also controlling the robot versions of Calvin. He works to protect the world with political as well as superhuman might. President Superman is proficient in balancing the national budget, solving the international crisis, and informing the Alliance of Nations to foster demilitarization and international collaboration. He has received the highest presidential approval rating since President Picard in the 1970s. Aside from being the president, this Superman has extensive leadership experience as he is the founder of the Justice League of Earth 23 and the Multiversal Justice League Incarnate. And he can play the guitar, which made him more knowledgeable in musical frequencies. President Superman is susceptible to Metanite, another version of Kryptonite from his universe. The Metanite seems to have the same effects as a green Kryptonite and only affects the Kryptonians of Earth 23. Being the president and protector of the multiverse, Calvin never had time for relationships and did not have children. During the Final Crisis event, President Superman was recruited by the Supermen of the Multiverse to help battle the vampire god Mandrake, which eventually helped to stabilize conditions on New Earth. On one of his fights against Luthor, Calvin recognized that Luthor was working on something because he was wearing a new model war suit. Thinking that Luthor was hiding something, Calvin investigated further and saw a red and green tesseract object. The object seems to be producing music like a distant orchestra, ringing out at impossibly oblique frequencies, which is getting louder by the second. Then an armed woman with an eye patch appeared through the tesseract. Disoriented, she thought Superman to be a threat and fired her K-laser gun weapon at him. The woman's K-laser gun generates a beam of concentrated hate, and it was from Earth 36, the universe of Optiman. Superman was not affected by it, and then the woman realized that her 2 companions, Clark Kent and Jimmy Olsen, have been severely burnt, then Jimmy died. She explained that by passing through the Tesseract, they have proved that there are multiple Earths, each bearing its own version of Superman. The woman is Lois Lane and they are from Earth 45. She explained to Calvin that there will be no time to save her dying companions, Clark, as something is pursuing them. She bewailed that their entire calamity was because of Clark's dream to change the world. In Earth 45, it was Clark who had traveled in the East and returned with knowledge of the Tulpa, the concept of creating a living thought with its own independent existence. Lois and Jimmy were drawn in by their curiosity, and together the 3 of them created a device that could make their thoughts realities, until they took it too far. With their project, they soon decided to use the device to imagine a messiah powered by thought and capable of saving the world. They named this creation Superman after Nietzsche and George Bernard Shaw. Over the course of his 25 minutes of existence, he outlined a code of ethics so profound and pure that Clark, Lois, and Jimmy wept. But they were unable to retain his words after his departure. Realizing that they needed a way to make him more real, they shopped their idea around for funding in order to perfect their device and approach Overcorp and its mysterious CEO. However, they soured on the idea of allowing a corporation to control their device. But the idea of a Superman was too compelling and eventually they sold out. Overcorp produced something absolutely different from what Lois, Jimmy, and Clark had intended. With the company's leaders dreaming in unison to create a figure capable of achieving maximum appeal, what was once a Superman was converted into a violent and troubled, faceless anti-hero called Super Doom. This Super Doom would become a globally recognized brand used by Overcorp as a stepping stone to execute planetary domination. Meanwhile, Clark discovered that the device could tap into the sounds coming from what had to have been other universes. They managed to jump between worlds, but the Superman that they had helped to create would pursue them and cause devastation in each new world. Lois had witnessed this Superman kill and devour a Superman analog from another Earth known as Optiman and destroy the Little League. Then Super Doom emerged from the Tesseract and announced its intention to kill its pretenders. However, Calvin asserted to put an end to Super Doom here and now. Calvin asked Brainiac to cover for him at the White House. Then he proceeded to attack the monstrous creature that followed Lois, but he was beaten back. Calvin soon realized that Lex Luthor is the only one on this Earth who is perfectly equipped to fight a fascistic reflection of Superman. Using the specialized K-laser, Luthor attacked Super Doom in the face. Calvin recovered and helped Luthor in the fight. Luthor shouted that Super Doom can be killed with a transmatter array, so Calvin knocked Super Doom into the Tesseract and trapped him there, suspended between wavelengths. In the aftermath, the Justice League arrived to help clean up the mess and investigated the mysteries of the Transmatter Symphonic Array, as Luthor called it. Superman offered Lois shelter in his home and vowed to help heal Clark, who may yet survive with a Lazarus survival procedure. Lois then remarked that Calvin might just be the Superman done right. Later at the White House, a meeting was in progress about Kurak, a Mid-Eastern rogue nation that is the leading sponsor of terrorism that has recently gained nuclear capacity, and the US government needs to decide what to do next. It was hoped that over the course of his talks with the Karachi president, US President Calvin Ellis will be able to come to an agreement that would halt weapons development. Karachi President for Life Harat was expecting his call with President Ellis to be filled with nonsense, but he was soon confused by Calvin updating him on the status of his own nuclear program. As it happens, Calvin is on a Bluetooth device, has rendered all 5 of Harat's underground Firestorm labs inoperational. 2 have caved in, 1 is filled with lava, 1 has suffered a core breach, and the other simply doesn't work anymore. Harat declares the attack on his labs an act of war, but Calvin points out that having denied the existence of the plants, Harat cannot openly admit that they were destroyed. He also points out that in the event of a war, President Superman's alliance of nations, which included Atlantis, Markovia, and Themyscira, certainly assure a regime change in Kurak. Calvin then offered peace and a place in the alliance whose medical technology would be of benefit to Harat's people. Hanging up from his phone call, Superman gets back to work at the 5th plant. However, Wonder Woman started questioning Calvin's presidential integrity as he is using his powers as Superman to obtain political advantages over other nations. She even pointed out that Calvin swore to uphold the laws of the United States, but is freely violating the laws of Kurak. After disabling a robot from another universe, Calvin went to the Justice League satellite to have the wreckage inspected. Steele said the materials use weird analog valve systems that degrade in contact with real-world physics, while the Green Lantern also does not recognize it. Steele thought it's a probe from a parallel universe. The presence of the non-universal material from the robot activated Luthor's transmatter array, and unwittingly speaking the code word SOS, transported Superman to the House of Heroes, where he was greeted by Captain Carrot of Earth 26. Meeting with a gathering of several other heroes throughout the multiverse, the Thunder of Earth 7 explained that a powerful threat known as the Gentry had destroyed his universe. Superman then used his Brainac AI gadget in his belt to connect to the ship's central intelligence. Harbinger's system became operational and she informed that the Monitor is dead and that they are all needed to save the multiverse. Harbinger informed them how to traverse the bleed via shift ships. Calvin's talent with music aided him in operating the Ultima Thule, the ship given to the Thunderer by a Monitor to save his life. He led a group with the intention of rescuing Monitor Nix Watson from the Gentry on Earth 7, only to find themselves on Earth 8 and confronted by the Retaliators ready to attack them. Before they could come to an understanding, Nix Watson was reborn from a cosmic egg as the Dark Monitor, corrupted servant of the Gentry. Calvin, having heard stories of the Monitor in his travels, attempted to get through Uwatan but was rebuffed and joined in the battle to stop him. After Uwatan was disinfected and the heroes of the multiverse defeated the Gentry, Calvin led a small party to Earth 7 where they confronted the Gentry's master, the Empty Hand. Superman expressed doubt for the Empty Hand's expressed intention to destroy the superheroes once and for all at a later date, noting that many such villains had claimed they would before, at which point the party was teleported out of the Empty Hand's sight. The heroes of the multiverse, now led by Superman, agreed to work together to defend against the Empty Hand's coming attack, and with a small group made up of Superman and several other heroes, they formed the Justice Incarnate. This team consisted of Mary Marvel of Earth 5, Captain Carrot of Earth 26, Batman of Earth 17, Machine Head of Earth 8, Aquawoman Ariel Curry of Earth 11, President Superman, Thunderer of Earth 7, Green Lantern Abin Sur of Earth 20, and Red Racer of Earth 36. After a while, during the DC Rebirth era, the Supermen of the multiverse were being hunted and kidnapped by the Prophecy to absorb their powers. The Justice League Incarnate met with Superman of New Earth and Superman of Earth 30. Calvin and the League warned the Supermen of the incoming danger and aided them to find Kong Kenan, the Superman of China. However, they were too late as Kenan has been captured by the Gatherers of the Prophecy. The group returned to the House of Heroes where they made new plans with Superman of Earth 0 as they watched the death of the Justice League of Earth 14. Superman of Earth 14 was the 15th Superman taken by the Prophecy. Superman of New Earth decided that they need to go to different Earths to recruit their Superman and join them in the fight against the Prophecy. Superman operated the Ultima Thule to go to the Prophecy to enact his plan as bait, as well as creating a tracker where the other captured Superman were taken. Calvin explained that the Ultima Thule is an extra-dimensional boat made of frozen music created by the Monitors. Its capabilities allow it to vibrate at different frequencies in order to access other Earths. Superman is imprisoned and his powers were siphoned by Prophecy, who is a giant. The Prophecy is absorbing the Supermen and Superwomen of the multiverse in order to be strong enough to oppose a coming threat that will destroy his world and countless others. Back on the House of Heroes, Calvin and the other Supermen returned, and with the Justice League Incarnate, they received the music of the Ultima Thule, revealing Prophecy's location. However, they need another Thule-like vessel to reach there, and that building another Ultima Thule would take thousands of years. Red Razor took the challenge and used his own speed to construct a second Ultima Thule. Calvin advised that there is a huge risk for his life for this endeavor. Red Razor successfully built the second Ultima Thule, but was killed in the process. Emboldened by Red Razor's sacrifice, Calvin and the Supermen began to follow the Ultima Thule's music. A huge battle ensued as the Supermen and Superwomen overpowered Prophecy. With Prophecy defeated, the Supermen and Superwomen are returned to their respective realities. During the Dark Knight's Death Metal series, Calvin and the multiversal heroes were seen in Earth 3, fighting the Crime Syndicate to destroy Perpetua's tuning fork in Earth 3, as Perpetua has planted tuning forks all over the multiverse to reshape all of reality. Ultraman and Superwoman were killed by Owlman during the fight. Back in Earth 23, while flying home in the birdplane over the Grand Canyon, Calvin was ambushed by an unidentified threat. He quickly chased the assailant and saw fierce creatures made of thick, dark energy that has unspeakable savagery. Their very touch felt the death of the worlds. Calvin tried to fight them. The fight somehow went to the White House where he was deeply injured and with blood flowing from his body when Wally West from Prime Earth arrived investigating the darkness that came from the dark multiverse. Another huge dark creature attacked Wally and Calvin, but Wally used the staff given to him by Tempus Fuginaut to defeat the dark matter creatures. Calvin then realized that they were fighting a symptom and not its cause, and soon discovered the existence of the dark multiverse. Superman also made an analysis that gave him very bad results. In the matter of an hour, the Earth will be swallowed completely by dark matter. And to make things worse, in 15 minutes, the Congress authorized the launch of the anti-life bomb at the Grand Canyon that would kill millions. Nevertheless, Wally still went to fix the rift in Earth 23, and because he hit Calvin with the staff of Tempus Fuginaut that accidentally healed Calvin, Calvin was able to intercept and stop the anti-life bomb launched by the Congress. During the Infinite Frontier relaunch of DC, Calvin was first seen monitoring the state of the various Earths of the multiverse and their cosmic vibrational frequencies at the House of Heroes with the help of Flash. Batman Thomas Wayne from the Flashpoint timeline crash-landed in Earth 23 aboard a ship, so he was brought to the House of Heroes and was interrogated by Calvin. The Justice Incarnate gathered the pieces of the interdimensional prison ship which Thomas Wayne escaped from. The ship somehow crashed and the debris was scattered across the multiverse. Thomas remembered being abducted from Arkham Asylum in Earth Zero by Extract and managed to fight his way to an escape shuttle, but he didn't know what happened after that. Harbinger detected a large chunk of the ship on Earth 22, so Calvin and Thomas went to Earth 22 but were attacked by Magog, who wished to keep the dangers from the multiverse off his world. The rest of Justice Incarnate arrived to feel the vibrations of the ship to determine its origins. The heroes each place their hands on the wreck, and it vibrates where Superman touches it, indicating the ship is originally from Earth 23. Of course, Calvin's first suspect is Lex Luthor, but he would be wrong. Calvin and Thomas would soon go around the multiverse to recruit more heroes to rescue Barry Allen from Darkseid's entrapment and his creation of cracks in the multiverse. They saw Darkseid in Earth 8, and when they tried to follow him, they ended up in the twilight world of Earth 13 and met Etrigan and the League of Shadows. Anathaz, Hellblazer, and Demento helped them with the seance, and they were transported to Limbo and saw Darkseid fighting Asmodel, an angel of heaven. Dr. Multiverse spots the crack and the heroes rush to it while Darkseid is distracted, but the Batwoman who laughs from Earth 11 emerges from a portal, also chasing the crack. She reached the crack as Darkseid kills Asmodel, so Dr. Multiverse attempted to destabilize the crack and send it to another universe beyond either of their reach. Because of her action, the Justice Incarnate became scattered across the multiverse, and Dr. Multiverse and Superman woke up in a suburban neighborhood on Earth 33 where they don't have powers. However, in Earth 33, all the superhero lives are published in comics. From there, Calvin believed he can get a message to the others by publishing a comic book. Calvin and Dr. Multiverse started to write their script. They met an editor at DC Comics named Ulrich Saxman who offered to help them. A few weeks later, they receive an email from Saxman and he wants them to let Darkseid win. Saxman argued that Darkseid's victory is necessary for the story as it allows the heroes to overcome greater odds. Suddenly, they hear Avery's voice and see an apparition of her and Batman appear. Avery reached to Dr. Multiverse when suddenly Ulrich revealed that he is Darkseid, who also crash-landed on Earth 33 and has been using the remnants of the Grandfather box to pass himself off as human. He grabs them and they were all transported to Earth 41. On Earth 41, the Nimrod Squad, Wildcats, and Cyborg Corps are fighting the Annihilator, who has seized the crack. Darkseid and the Annihilator fought over the crack. Dr. Multiverse tried to close the crack but was unable to hold it. Dr. Multiverse then tearfully realized that they need to let Darkseid win as the real villain, the Great Darkness, has revealed itself and only Darkseid can fight him. Darkseid then asked the Justice Incarnate to join him. Darkseid fought the darkness, and during the battle, all of the members of the Justice Incarnate became possessed by the darkness. During the dawn of DC era, Calvin and the Justice League Incarnate were possessed by the darkness and were bound in chains similar to the Dark Army. They tried to break into the Orrery of Worlds to infect the entire multiverse. Fortunately, Dr. Light was powerful enough to fight them and remove their possession to bring them back to their normal selves. Calvin and the Justice Incarnate was also seen fighting during the Dark Crisis saga.
Ever seen rode in? It was a full-on Multiverse Justice League. They'd been hopping between universes.
Hailing from the island nation of Amazonia, Nubia functions as Wonder Woman, a diplomat and guardian, as well as an ambassador of her people, frequently going together with Superman and the Justice League in their adventures around the world to protect justice, liberty, and equality. The Wonder Woman of Amazonia would usually bring anti-war technologies to the world. During the Final Crisis story arc, Earth 23 was impacted by the great dangers happening in the multiverse, so Nubia brought the Wonder Horn, a gift from the universals of mythic time, to be used only when all else has failed. It produces a loud sound that is both sad and hopeful, which is called the music of the spears. From there, the Ultima Thule arrived in Earth 23, carrying with it the Superman of the multiverse. During the invasion of the nuclear weapon plants of Kerak by Calvin and Nubia, Nubia marveled and made Calvin aware at the extreme contradictions represented by President Superman. Calvin Ellis, a man of integrity, is secretly Superman, also a man of integrity, both standing for truth and justice, but is hiding this fact from everyone else and was using his gifts to bend international laws and cross borders at will. Calvin, while representing peace, would also use his alliance with Atlantis, Markovia, and Themyscira as threats to enemy countries. Superman argues that his actions, though shocking, are ultimately good. Wonder Woman points out that one day, even if his intentions are good, not everyone will necessarily agree. This Wonder Woman also has a personal jet. Lex Luthor of Earth 23 presumably mirrored the Lex Luthor of Earth 0. Since President Superman is African American, people would usually say that he is a racist. His origins are unknown, but 5 years after the creation of the Justice League, Lex Luthor was a mad scientist using robot war suits to defend his labs in abandoned buildings, while Superman was a key component in US President Calvin Ellis's plan to help fix the world. As a result of a vision he had while on drugs, he built a bridge between universes called the Transmatter Symphonic Array, and when a monstrous version of Superman called Super Doom from Earth 45 emerged from it, Luthor helped his arch-nemesis defeat it before running from the Justice League. He channeled his hatred for Superman to Super Doom. He thinks Super Doom represents the raw essence of a smug fascist bully that is Superman. Aside from his many laboratories, he also has his own personal lair. Of course, he has lots of fighting robots inside his lair that fought President Superman and Flashpoint Batman. When President Superman and Flashpoint Batman were investigating on how Batman came to Earth 23, their first suspect is Luthor. However, the truth is bigger than Luthor. Luthor joined the Totality, a secret alliance of heroes and villains from Earth 0 and Earth 23, dedicated to protecting different forms of threats in the wider omniverse. He also secretly made a deal with Darkseid, who promised to protect Earth 23 in exchange for Lex helping Machine Head develop a large-scale interdimensional travel. Luthor and Machine Head from Earth 8 created the Carrier Arcs, huge prison ships which could enter and cross the multiverse through the bleed. Lex eventually wavered, and so Machine Head killed him by ripping out his heart. His body was soon discovered by Calvin and the Batman of the Flashpoint timeline inside his lair. Calvin has always wished Luthor would use his mind for something better. Machine Head soon revealed himself to be working with Darkseid to save Earth 8 from the attacks in the multiverse. He immediately attacked Batman and the team, then President Superman with a Meta Knight. The Brainac OS was formerly the primary artificial intelligent assistant of President Superman that helps him control and guide the robotic duplicates of President Calvin Ellis that allowed him the time to be both the President and Superman. Brainac can automatically analyze the conversations that President Superman will be participating in and then apply the specific behavioral algorithms that will choose the appropriate robot to use for the President's meeting. As the robot president and as an AI, Brainac can instantly make conversations that provide decisions to certain international crises that involve military actions, making him an impressive and close to the real president entity that provides solutions to US allies. Brainac can detect many anomalies in nature and on Earth. Calvin once used Brainac to turn on the House of Heroes and Harbinger. However, at some point, Brainac was exposed to an algorithm created by its own future self that corrupted it, turning it against Superman and driving it to commit acts of terror. It almost kick-started World War IV before being defeated, after which it continued to terrorize President Superman and the world, apparently out of a lack of interest in anything else. Brainac was then replaced by Kelex, but Kelex cannot mimic intelligent conversations like Brainac did. Paula Holt, aka Mrs. Terrific, is Mr. Terrific of Earth 23. On Earth 23, her husband, Michael Holt, died in a car crash, unlike on Earth 0 where it was Paula who was killed. After her husband's death, she used her genius intellect to fight for good as Mrs. Terrific. Mrs. Terrific possesses a genius-level intellect, and she built her own company called Terrific Tech. She would later obtain cosmic awareness that she can break the fourth wall. She has a magic sword that can cut through time, and T-cubes which function identically to Mr. Terrific's T-spheres, except that Paula's T-cubes are equipped with pan-dimensional gateway, allowing them to travel to Earth 51 and other Earths. Her costume also has a protective personal shield that can absorb energy blasts. She came across the Mr. Terrific of Earth Zero when he was transported to her world. The Dreadfuls are killing the different versions of Mr. Terrific in the multiverse. They arrived in Earth 23 to kill Paula. Fortunately, Mr. Terrific also went there. After helping Mr. Terrific escape from Java and the Dreadfuls, she accompanied Mr. Terrific back to Earth Zero and became a member of his team, the Terrifics. With the Terrifics, they defeated and captured the Dreadfuls. Mr. and Mrs. Terrific would later try to build a relationship but ended up arguing about religion and faith. So, Paula started to demand to be called Miss Terrific. With the Terrifics, she would meet many villains such as Pixelix, the Frogmen, Robotic Gnats, the Noosphere, the Fly People, and King Stag. She even met Bizarro Superman from Earth 29 and tricked him into telling her what he was looking for in Earth Zero. The fight with Earth 29 allowed Mr. Terrible from Earth 29 to set their time machine to take them back to the beginning of time. However, it inadvertently sent Paula instead. After arriving at the beginning of time, Paula met every possible version of herself who bestowed upon her angelic powers. Her doppelgangers gave her wings that can fly over all history and a sword that can cleave time itself or create a time vortex. When the Terrifics were transported to the end of time, Paula helped the Terrifics get home by opening a time portal. However, the Terribles of Earth 29 followed them and they want the Terrifics to stay with them. They fought the Terrifics, but the Noosphere still managed to make the Terrifics escape. Then she slashed the timeline of the Bizarro event like removing a page in a comic book. They all made it back to the present time. Finally, Michael and Paula were able to start their relationship, but Michael Holt would still not believe in God. The Totality of Earth 23 is the counterpart of the Totality of Earth Zero. The Totality is a collection of Earth's greatest minds that started from Earth Zero, both heroes and villains dedicated to protecting the world from threats in the wider omniverse and maintaining the integrity of reality. The existence of the Totality is a closely guarded secret, only known to a few outside the group. The Totality attempted to build an early detection system for breaches in the fabric of time and space. Meanwhile, on Earth 23, their counterparts did the exact same thing at the exact same moment. This created a dimensional rift which the alternate Totality crossed through. The two teams fought in Earth Zero until the Superman of Earth 23 followed them through the rift. As President Superman entered, the two Martians from different Earths activated Protocol S and covered both teams in psychic safe rooms. With that, Superman was unable to see them, but he can still smell them. Martian Manhunter of Earth Zero asked the Earth 23 team to keep Superman occupied while his team built a dimensional patch to seal the breach. Afterwards, they sent the alternate heroes and villains back home, agreeing to stay out of each other's way. The members of Earth 23 Totality include John Johns, Lex Luthor, a version of Mr. Terrific, Talia al Ghul, Hawkgirl, and Vandal Savage, who distracted President Superman, while their Earth Zero counterparts fixed the breach. President Superman and Vandal Savage of Earth 23 do not like each other very much for a reason. Bizarro is the inverted, twisted, and zombie-like Superman of Earth 23. In Earth 23, President Superman created a 2-day love holiday called the Celebration of Rapport. Every year, people all over the planet unite in empathy and understanding. The first day of this holiday is the Day of Giving. Here, people place a round crystal known as a self-stone into giant containers. The self-stone being given away represents hopes, fears, joys, and sorrows of the owner of the stone. The next day, the day of receiving, everyone will get a new self-stone. Bizarro hates the celebration of rapport because he felt jealous that no one had ever given him a gift ever. He has always celebrated alone as far back as he can remember, so seething with resent after a lifetime of being unappreciated, he attacked Superman's celebration of rapport festival. He was eventually calmed down by a small girl who gave him the gift he longed for. Thus, he went on to celebrating the holiday every year. His first celebration will always be his favorite. Other members of the Justice League of Earth 23 are Steel, who has genius-level intellect and steel power armor, helped President Superman in analyzing the robot that attacked Superman. Green Lantern, John Stewart, who guards 101 planets in his sector that he calls the Beat. Red Tornado, who can manipulate wind energy. Satana, Cyborg, Black Lightning, Batman, Guardian, and Vixen. Other residents of Earth 23 are Shazam, Darla Dudley, who loves helping President Superman during the celebration of rapport. Green Lantern 2, who seems to be like a version of Kilowog but looks like a warthog. So what do you think of Earth 23? This Earth does not have a lot of comic stories yet, but would you be interested for DC to expound more on this Earth or add more characters and plots? Who do you think could portray a live-action President Superman? What's your opinion about the Justice Incarnate? Would you like a separate video about the Justice Incarnate? Let us know what you think and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, please show your support by giving us a super thanks.